The day I decided to walk away from my marriage. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't accuse him. I simply signed my name at the bottom of the divorce papers, folded them carefully, and slipped them into my handbag as if I were putting away something ordinary. A receipt. A document. Nothing more. The suitcase had been pulled out the night before. It stood quietly near the door, half hidden by the wall, like it was waiting for me to gather enough courage. 10 years. 10 years reduced to a few strokes of ink. There was no affair. No betrayal. No dramatic fight that shattered plates or slammed doors. We still ate dinner at the same table. Still shared the same bed. Still talked about bills, schedules, and our child's homework. But somewhere between responsibilities and routine, we stopped truly seeing each other. That night, the house felt unusually still. The yellow light above the dining table cast long shadows across the floor. I could hear the ticking of the clock on the wall, each second echoing louder than it should have. My heart was calm, too calm. I had rehearsed the sentence in my head many times. We should stop. Simple, direct, clean. I thought I was ready. Ready to choose peace over loneliness that existed even when he was right beside me. Ready to stop pretending that silence was normal. Ready to stop waiting for something that hadn't happened in years. When I stepped into the living room, he was already there. Sitting at the table. Quiet. He looked up at me, and for a moment, neither of us spoke. There was no surprise in his eyes. Maybe he had felt the distance too. Maybe he had been counting the quiet nights the same way I had. I placed my handbag on the table. My fingers brushed against the papers inside. This was it. But before I could say a single word, he stood up and walked toward the bedroom without explaining anything. For a second, I thought he was avoiding the conversation. Or worse, maybe he didn't care enough to hear it. I felt a sharp ache in my chest. But I forced myself to stay still. I had promised myself I wouldn't hesitate. A few moments later, he came back. In his hand was an old envelope. The edges were worn, slightly yellowed by time. He walked toward me slowly and placed it on the table between us. Before you say anything, he said quietly, I want you to read this. I frowned. I didn't recognize the envelope at first, but when I turned it over and saw the handwriting on the front, my breath caught in my throat. It was mine. And suddenly, the calm I had carefully built inside me began to crack. Choyen fan tu den fan 7 sang tieng an. Doi de la ban choyen nu tieng an tu part 2 den part 7. Giu nguyen mok truyen. Cam suk va fong cash ke choyen fu hop cho noi dung YouTube voiceover. If someone had asked me why I wanted a divorce, I wouldn't have known where to begin. Because there wasn't one big reason. He didn't cheat. He didn't hurt me. We still had dinner together. Still took care of our child. Still came home before 9 p.m. But we had run out of things to say, except the things we had to say. How much was the electricity bill? Are we visiting your parents this weekend? I'll be home late. Conversations that repeated so often I could predict his tone before he finished the sentence. I couldn't remember the last time we sat next to each other without holding our phones. I couldn't remember the last time he looked at me for more than a few seconds, not because I was asking something, but simply because he wanted to. At night, I would turn my back to him in bed. The distance between our bodies was only inches, but it felt like an ocean. I tried, once. I bought a new dress. Cooked his favorite meal. Asked him to watch a movie like we used to. He ate, he watched, he smiled. But it felt polite, not connected. I blamed him for being distant. But maybe I had changed too. I became quieter, more sensitive. I waited for him to notice what I needed. While never clearly saying it, I collected small disappointments and let them grow heavy inside me. Once, I asked him, "Do you feel like we're drifting apart?" He was silent for a long moment. "Work has just been stressful," he said. It wasn't wrong. But it wasn't the truth either. Stress doesn't erase love. Silence does. When I opened the envelope, my hands trembled. Inside was a letter I had written 10 years ago, When he had to move away for work for 6 months. I was younger then, softer, certain that love could survive anything. If one day we feel tired, I had written, please don't let go first. Remind me why we started. Remind me that there was once a girl who believed that being by your side was enough. Reading those words felt like looking at a stranger. But it was me. The version of me who believed love only needed faith. He watched me carefully. I found it while cleaning. He said, I've read it many times. He paused. I've thought about giving up too. I just didn't know how to fix what I didn't understand. For the first time in months, I saw something different in his eyes. Not indifference. Fear. Have you ever thought about divorce? I asked him. Yes, he answered. The honesty startled me. I thought maybe you'd be happier without me. He said quietly, you always seemed so strong. I didn't want to add more pressure. I almost laughed. I acted strong because I thought he didn't care. He stayed silent because he thought I was strong enough. We had misunderstood each other for years. I told him about the nights I cried quietly. He told me about the financial pressure he hid from me. I told him I felt invisible. He told me he felt like he was failing. We weren't enemies. We were just two exhausted people pretending everything was fine. That night, we didn't solve everything. But we finally spoke the truth. The divorce papers were still in my bag. I took them out and placed them on the table. 2 pieces of paper. One representing the end. One representing the beginning. I don't want you to stay because you're afraid. He said, if you stay, I want it to be because you choose to. I looked at him carefully. He wasn't begging. He was waiting. And that made it harder. I realized something in that moment. Leaving would end the marriage. But it wouldn't answer the question of whether we had truly tried. I slowly tore the divorce papers in half. The sound was soft. But the decision was loud. I can't promise it'll be easy, I said, but if we try again, we have to do it differently. He nodded. And this time, when he reached for my hand, I let him. The next morning felt strangely normal. The same sunlight. The same routine. But something had shifted. He asked, did you sleep okay? It was a simple question. But one he hadn't asked in months. We started small. Weekly conversations without phones. Honest answers instead of, I'm fine. Checking in instead of assuming. We didn't transform overnight. There were still arguments, still tired days. But we stopped letting silence stretch too long. I realized our marriage hadn't been destroyed by lack of love. It had been weakened by lack of communication. And once we began speaking again, love had room to breathe. Many people think saving a marriage requires something dramatic. A miracle. A crisis. A grand apology. For us, it was an old letter. A reminder of who we once were. If he hadn't given me that envelope that night, I might have walked away. And I would have spent the rest of my life wondering, did we truly fall out of love? Or did we just stop talking? Marriage isn't sustained by feelings alone. It's sustained by choice.